The COVID-19 pandemic struck the world at the end of 2019, and India had the first case at the end of January 2020. On the 24th of March, the government of India ordered a nationwide lockdown to stop the spread of coronavirus. The people of India were ordered to stay in their homes, only venturing out to get essentials like food and medicine. They were given only 4 hours to prepare for a 21-day lockdown. The entire population of the country was stunned, and for the millions of Indians who build roads and buildings, work in homes, factories, and fields, and live in makeshift settlements, this became an enormous crisis. These migrant workers are people who move to other places in search of work because there are few opportunities for them in their villages. Migrant workers are mostly daily wage workers, so when work came to a standstill, their income stopped. With little savings, this meant that they ran out of food very quickly. Many could not afford to pay rent for the rooms they lived in. There was little support for them, and so they had no option but to find a way back to their villages, where there was at least a home and the comfort of family. But most public transport had also been locked down. This forced lots of people to start walking. They walked for days, covering long distances. India's roads became rivers of human beings, carrying bundles and bags, often walking by night when it was cooler. Young children walked too, sometimes with family, and sometimes because they were migrant workers too. 12-year-old Jamlo was one such migrant worker. She had gone to work in the chili fields with a group from her village. Children harvest chilies in the fields to provide additional livelihood for their poor families. They take home either money or sacks of chilies. Jamlo went to work sometime in February, but when the lockdown stopped work in March and the laborers had used up all their savings, they were told by their contractor to return to their villages. Jamlo and the group started walking on the 16th of April. They had a distance of around 200 kilometers to cover. They chose a route through the forests because the main road was locked down. They covered more than 100 kilometers in 3 days. On the 18th of April, 2020, with just 55 to 60 kilometers left to reach her home, Jamlo collapsed. This book is dedicated to the memory of Jamlo. Her walk needs to be remembered if we want to create a world that shares resources fairly, a world that listens to everyone's voices, a world that is just and kind. Jamlo Walks by Samina Mishra. It was day 7 of the lockdown, and everyone says the skies are blue again. Let's try that again. Jamlo Walks by Samina Mishra. Jamlo Walks by Samina Mishra. It is day 7 of the lockdown, and everyone says the skies are blue again. Jamlo walks. She looks straight at the road ahead. It is long. The milestone says Naryapur 10. Jamlo wipes the sweat off her face and shifts the bag of chilies from one shoulder to the other. The chilies are what she earned for harvesting fields. Jamlo knows Ma will be happy to see them. She wishes she had earned more. Last year, Budram Dada had returned to Adad with 2 sacks of chilies. But Jamlo's work was cut short, and all she had was 1 cloth bag full. Jamlo holds on to the bag and walks. Amma is watching a video on the laptop of people walking. The news reporter's voice says something about COVID-19. 4 hours to prepare for a 21-day lockdown. Tara sees men and women carrying bundles and children looking tired and sunburned. She has many questions. But when Amma notices Tara, she quickly shuts the lid of the laptop. The people walking disappear in a flash. Do you want dosa for breakfast? Asks Amma. At the roadside stall, the man spreads dosa batter on the tawa. It sizzles. Jamlo watches. The man asks her where she's coming from and where she's going. Jamlo likes that his eyes widen in amazement when she tells him. The road is long. Walk with some grown-ups, the man says as he hands her a tilka ladu from the glass jar. Jamlo eats the ladu as she walks past a turnoff that says Tadbai 15. The road shimmers like water, empty of cars and buses. She sees figures swaying in the shimmer. Perhaps it's Harley and everyone is dancing and eating ladus. Jamlo blinks. A car with a flag roars down the road. Rahul sees the car with a flag drive down the empty street. There's a loudspeaker attached to the front, and a voice is saying something about sealing the area. Behind him, he can hear Mummy and Papa talking about their cook, Rupa Didi, and her husband. There's no work for a rickshawala, so they're having trouble paying rent for their jogi. Rahul turns to look at the jogi cluster next to his building, where Rupa Didi lives. He watches a group of children running in as a police jeep drives past. The children vanish into the gully, and the day is quiet. The silence on the road is broken by the sounds of birds. Jamlo sees a myna drinking from a puddle. Birds can't be locked down, thinks Jamlo. But then she remembers the parakeet that Sarita had brought home from the hut, and how they gave it guavas and green chilies every day. She wonders if it's still in that cage. The myna twitters and looks at Jamlo. Jamlo pulls out a dry red chili from her bag and holds her hand out. The bird flutters its wings and flies away. Jamlo puts the chili away and takes out her bottle of water that will soon be empty. She squints her eyes, trying to see if she can spot a dhaba or a village in the distance. The road is still long, and people are still walking. Amir takes the bottle out of the fridge and pours out a tall glass of cold water. Online classes will start soon, but Amir is bored. He thinks of the pranks he used to play in class and how Anju Miss always laughed. Miss tries to play games with him on Zoom, but it's not the same. Amir logs on. He can see some of his friends in their boxes on the Zoom screen, but some are black. They cannot be seen, like him. When Amir complained, Papa said, "At least you can hear. So many children don't even have this." Amir hears Anju Miss say, "Hi, Amir," and the sound becomes garbled and the connection is broken. Jamlo's chapal breaks. She's standing near a milestone that says Usur 20. She's tired and thinks she'll rest for a while. She lies down under the shade of some sal trees. They stand straight like soldiers, thinks Jamlo. But it is hard to stand straight when you've been walking for 3 days. Some men walked past her, talking to each other. They're saying corona kills, but so does hunger. A leaf flutters down onto her face. Jamla notices that it's turned partly yellow and knows that the tree has rejected it. She thinks of a 600-year-old tree growing somewhere in Bijapur that Pushpa Didi had told her about. She wonders how many leaves that tree must have rejected and what it feels like to be that old. Jamlo shuts her eyes. She thinks of Ma and Bapu and the chilies she will give them. She thinks of how proud they will be of how much she has walked. It is morning. Tara and Rahul and Amir wake up to another day of online school. Another day under lockdown rules. The skies are still blue. The road is still long. The people are still walking.